guys, hello and welcome to the Road to ProRaw 9 episode 5. You know the deal, I'm Ben Winstone. Thank you for joining me once again, and thank you for those that have been watching for the past month or so. It's been ticking along reasonably well. Last week viewing numbers were down a little bit, so I might be facing the sack in a few weeks time if things don't improve, but thank you to the guys that sent through a little bit of feedback on Snapchat directly, such as this. It's very cute. And also this one. And sometimes you get a few creeps that send stuff like this. That is disgusting, but thank you. So let's jump straight into training, moving on from that. Starting with squats. Now this week I worked up to a heavy triple of 260 kilos. Now this is the last week that a triple is the top set of the program. Triples still remain in there. So from next week onwards, it will be heavy singles and then followed by some doubles and triples. So the 260 triple moved okay. It wasn't easy as you would expect for that sort of weight. If it's not a chainsaw, it's a fucking dog barking. But yeah, let's have a look and see how it goes. And then this was followed by a down set of 245 for a triple. And then two sets of 225 for 5 onto a box as I struggle to, once again, I've got some sort of impingement or issues there with the glute or hip. I'm not quite sure what it is. Later on in that training week, I got it looked at by Sean Bostock, the master extraordinaire massage therapist. So highly recommended. But yeah, that was sort of holding me back a little bit, but not too much. I was lucky to get away with it. So if you think the 260 for a triple was good, okay for sleeves, I guess. You know, nothing too impressive in the 125 kilo weight class. Check these videos out from a couple of big dogs. Now I use that term affectionately because it's actually accurate. Both of these guys competed in the inaugural big dogs competition held last year, also run by ProRaw Powerlifting. Now, first up is the epic Luke Polly. I say epic because he's sponsored by Elite Performance Integrated Coaching up in Queensland. You can check them out on Facebook, and there's also a link below. So Luke squatted 335 for a triple. Pretty impressive. Now Luke's been training for over 20 years and competes in a class above me at ProRaw in the open weight men's heavy division. But if that was good, check this one out. Dwayne Johnson 350 for 3.
ProRaw 9 prep. Come on, mate.
How much did they speed that up by? What do you mean? What do you mean it wasn't sped up? No. Did you see how fast that was? What do you mean Marcos doesn't know how to speed videos up? You tell me that was the proper... No, I don't want to call Gwen. It's okay. I believe you. I believe you. No! Go away! I don't want... It's not fair. I want to squat like Dwayne. Alright, I'll go on. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for those still watching and haven't punched in Luke or Gwen's name into the search bar above and are now watching other videos. So for those couple still remaining, let's move on to bench press. So bench press. This was a slightly difficult week. I learnt from previous weeks I was having some issues with handing it out or unracking it by myself. So what I decided to do this week was I had a top set in mind of 175 kilos for 3. So what I did is I broke this down into 3 singles. Now, still getting that same amount of volume in, but I'm breaking it down into basically 3 very good reps as opposed to 1 decent rep and then perhaps a couple that aren't as good because I've unracked it with a few issues or hasn't quite got that tightness there to do a proper triple. So this is how the 175 triple went. So a little bit tough. This was also done after deadlifts, which I'll show in a moment. The reason for this was I was originally planning to try and bench somewhere where I could get a handoff. That didn't quite go to plan, so I decided to deadlift a couple of days early, and then I thought I'll bench another day or so later when I can train somewhere with a handoff. However, the problem was I also booked in for the massage I mentioned earlier with Sean. Now, if you've ever had a massage with Sean, I don't know how to explain it properly. It's one of those things you kind of have to experience yourself. So I knew that I'd be feeling quite possibly beat up and a little bit sore. So I decided to get that bench session in early where I could try and get away with it. So this was followed by 160 for a triple and also 150 for 5, which moved okay. And yes, Sean's happy to jump on board and feature on this series. I mentioned it to him when I was in there, and he's happy for me to bring the camera along and film it and see how it goes. I was going to call it therapy, but it's more like torture. Yeah, that should be a good episode. I might make it a standalone one. So deadlifts. These have been going well. This week I worked up to a new 5 rep max of 272.5 kilos for 5. Things were feeling really good in warm-ups, and I decided to punch out those couple of extra reps. So it's just one of those sessions where you just roll with it. I didn't go too far overboard. I was only meant to do 3, so I punched out a couple more, but they felt good, and here they are. Now, once again, you may notice that first rep, I didn't really pull the tension out of the bar, so it pitched me forward once again. I mentioned that I've got to work on these things, so it's a work in progress, and I can only try and improve things week by week. Now, this was followed by 260 for a triple and 240 kilos for 5. This week with training, I tried to get things a little bit more back on track. Last episode I mentioned about how things were outside pressures were affecting training, and it was resulting in some late sessions and a real lack of motivation and things like that. So this week I tried to get in a little bit earlier. Squats I did much earlier in the evening, and the combined deadlift and bench press session ran a little bit over time, as you would expect, doing 2 sessions into one, but it was also meant that I trained twice this week, which is not ideal, and it's certainly not something I'd recommend or also try and do regularly, because sooner or later those gains are certainly going to fall well short. So it was kind of the end of that bad patch, I guess. As I said, I filmed these episodes a week in advance, so I've just finished my bench press session for the week after, which will of course feature in next week's video. But the squat and bench session this week have been during daylight or early evening, and have been moving much better, feeling much better. So I feel like I'm kind of through that rut now, and I'm back on track where I need to be. And moving forward, I'm looking forward to getting back into the gym now and training. And so that wraps up this episode. As always, you can find me on Instagram at the White Juggernaut. And feel free to shoot through any questions or any comments or feedback as per always. I appreciate all feedback. And thank you to Marcos for sending through that footage of Gwen. And thank you to Luke as well for sending his footage through too. I appreciate it, guys. I believe it sort of helps to add a little bit of perspective to show, where I am as a middle of the road guy in 125 kilo class versus what some of the top guys in Australia are doing. So as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And until next week, get out there, get in the gym, and let's get it done. Not a bad episode this week. Yeah, I tried to keep it a bit short and sweet to the point. But next week I'll try and add a bit more comedy to it. I might try something like this. Hey, watch this. Remember how I was saying that thing about Nick King and the Apeman versus Juggernaut? I'm Nick King. I'm the Apeman. I'm the new king of 125s. I'm going to beat the Juggernaut at GPC States. Ever seen Apeman get murdered? It's coming. What do you mean? Why is that light flashing still?